Deep in the wilderness, the camera captures a sight that makes you question everything you know about the animal kingdom. A deer, graceful and alert, seems inexplicably drawn to a dog. This isn't a playful interaction or a chase, it's something far more profound, something that challenges our basic understanding of animal behavior. But what happens when the lines between species blur? The natural world is a tapestry of extraordinary diversity, a symphony of life in all its forms and colors. Interspecies mating, the union of two seemingly disparate species, is one such anomaly. Ligers, the offspring of a male lion and a female tiger, are perhaps the most well-known example of interspecies breeding. But the case of a deer and a dog pushes these boundaries even further. Imagine a remote wilderness area untouched by human development where the boundaries between civilization and the wild are blurred. The case of a deer mating with a dog, while undeniably unusual, could be the result of a perfect storm of environmental and behavioral factors converging in one extraordinary moment. Perhaps a scarcity of resources, a lack of suitable mates within their own species, or even simple curiosity could drive these animals to look beyond the familiar. Eyewitness accounts from locals suggest that this isn't an isolated incident. The animal kingdom, for all its diversity, often adheres to invisible boundaries. Yet, as we've seen, these lines can blur, particularly when it comes to the primal urge to procreate. Interspecies mating, while rare, is a testament to the adaptability and opportunism inherent in nature. Could this primal urge be strong enough to bridge the chasm between deer and dogs? The animal kingdom doesn't rely on dating apps or romantic comedies. Instead, the birds and the bees, and yes, even the deer and the dogs, are guided by a complex interplay of chemical signals, visual cues, and instinctive behaviors. Pheromones, chemical signals released by animals, play a crucial role in mate selection. The science behind interspecies mating is still not fully understood, and more research is needed to determine the exact mechanisms at play. While the science of attraction provides a framework for understanding interspecies mating, it doesn't tell the whole story. Sometimes it's the unexpected confluence of events, the random collisions of individual animals in unique circumstances, that lead to these improbable pairings. If the dog encounters a deer, especially a female deer in heat, its heightened senses might be overwhelmed by the rush of pheromones and the unfamiliar visual cues. Interspecies mating is not always a clear-cut case of mistaken identity or hormonal hijacking. The animal kingdom is rife with examples of interspecies mating, some more surprising than others. One well-documented example involves the hybridization of polar bears and grizzly bears. This overlap has led to a rise in pizzly bears, hybrids that exhibit a blend of traits from both parents. These examples illustrate the fluidity of species boundaries, particularly when environmental pressures or unusual circumstances come into play. To understand the potential for a deer and a dog to mate, we need to look no further than the dog's wild cousins, wolves. Wolves and deer share a long and complex evolutionary history, one marked by both predation and, surprisingly, occasional interspecies interactions that go beyond the hunt. Wolves and dogs share a remarkable genetic similarity, with dogs essentially representing domesticated versions of their wild counterparts. This genetic proximity means that dogs retain many of the instincts and behaviors of their wolf ancestors. Our quest to understand this unusual phenomenon takes us deep into the heartland of America, to those rural communities where humans and wildlife live in a sometimes uneasy truce. Stories circulate like wildfire through these small towns, tales passed down from generation to generation and often embellished with each telling. But beneath the layers of folklore and exaggeration, there's a kernel of truth, a persistent belief that something strange is happening in the woods. These anecdotal accounts hint at a deeper truth, that interspecies interactions, particularly between deer and dogs, might be more common than we think. To understand why deer and dogs might engage in such unusual behavior, we need to examine the environments where these encounters occur. Habitat plays a crucial role in shaping animal behavior, influencing everything from mate selection to predator-prey dynamics. In these constricted environments, animals are forced into closer proximity than they would experience in pristine wilderness. This overlap in habitat creates opportunities for encounters between deer and dogs. In the animal kingdom, the drive to reproduce is paramount, an instinctive urge that overrides almost all other considerations. When faced with a shortage of suitable mates within their own species, animals can exhibit surprising flexibility in their partner choices. Imagine a young buck driven by surging hormones, searching for a mate during the peak of the rutting season. What might seem bizarre or even repulsive to us could be perfectly natural in the context of their world. The animal kingdom relies heavily on scent for communication, using a complex language of pheromones to convey information about identity, status, and reproductive availability. However, this intricate system is not foolproof, and misinterpretations can occur, particularly between closely related species. Dogs, with their highly sensitive noses, are particularly attuned to pheromonal signals. While they primarily use scent to communicate within their own species, it's possible that in certain circumstances they might misinterpret the pheromones released by other animals, particularly those that share similar chemical profiles. Deer, like many mammals, release pheromones through their urine, feces, and scent glands. These pheromones contain information about the animal's sex, age, and reproductive status. While the specific chemical compounds differ from those found in dog pheromones, there might be enough similarities to cause confusion, particularly in a dog with a heightened sense of smell. Furthermore, environmental factors such as temperature, humidity, and wind conditions can affect the dispersal and concentration of pheromones in the air. It's possible that in certain situations, the pheromones released by a deer could be carried by the wind, creating a scent plume that a dog might misinterpret as originating from a potential mate within its own species. This scent-based confusion, coupled with the visual cues of a deer in estrus, could create a perfect storm of miscommunication, leading a dog to misinterpret a deer's signals as an invitation to mate. While the potential for interspecies mating between deer and dogs might be rooted in biology and environmental factors, we cannot ignore the role of humans in shaping these unusual encounters. Our encroachment on natural habitats, combined with our long-standing relationship with dogs, has created a situation where these two species are forced into close proximity, often with unintended consequences. The abandonment of dogs, particularly in rural areas, contributes to the problem, creating populations of feral and stray animals that must fend for themselves. These dogs, deprived of their usual social structures and accustomed to scavenging for food, might be more likely to interact with deer, particularly if they are desperate for companionship or food. Furthermore, the practice of feeding deer, while well-intentioned, can habituate them to human presence and make them less wary of other animals, including dogs. This lack of fear, coupled with the availability of an easy food source, can lead to increased interactions between deer and dogs, potentially increasing the likelihood of unusual behavior. It's important to remember that we, as humans, have a responsibility to manage our impact on the natural world. Decoding the dance experts weigh in. The grainy footage of a deer seemingly mating with a dog sparked debate among zoologists and animal behaviorists. Could this be interspecies mating, or a more straightforward explanation? Experts armed with research and skepticism descended upon the scene. Dr. Emily Carter cautioned against jumping to conclusions. She explained the need to consider alternative explanations. Play behavior, dominance displays, or mistaken identity were possibilities. Dr. Mark Jenkins offered a different perspective on canine behavior. Dogs might engage in mounting as a display of dominance, even towards other species. He suggested the dog might have been exhibiting redirected behavior. The lack of consensus deepened the mystery. The debate highlighted the complexities of animal behavior and the challenges of interpretation. Evolution, the grand architect of life on Earth, has shaped the destinies of countless species, favoring those best adapted to their environments. Interspecies mating, while seemingly counterintuitive to the principles of natural selection, represents a curious side effect of this ongoing evolutionary dance. The potential for deer and dogs to mate, however remote, raises intriguing questions about the evolutionary pressures that might drive such behavior. Could there be a hidden benefit to interspecies mating, a genetic wildcard that might prove advantageous in a rapidly changing world? Some scientists speculate that hybridization, the process of interbreeding between different species, could introduce beneficial genes into a population, increasing genetic diversity and resilience to disease or environmental change. However, the offspring of such unions are often infertile, limiting the long-term impact of these genetic exchanges. In the case of deer and dogs, the evolutionary implications of interspecies mating are likely to be minimal. The vast genetic distance between these species makes it highly improbable that their offspring would be viable, let alone capable of reproducing. Nevertheless, the very possibility of such a union serves as a reminder that evolution is a messy and unpredictable process, full of dead ends, detours, and the occasional unexpected rendezvous. Animal behavior is a complex tapestry woven from the threads of instinct, learning, and environmental influences. The seemingly bizarre behavior of a deer interacting sexually with a dog highlights the delicate balance between these forces, challenging our understanding of what is natural in the animal world. Instincts, hardwired behaviors passed down through generations, govern many aspects of animal life, from migration patterns to mating rituals. These innate drives, honed by millennia of evolution, are essential for survival and reproduction. However, instincts are not always foolproof, and their expression can be influenced by environmental factors, individual experiences, and even the presence of other species. Learned behaviors, acquired through observation, trial and error, and social interactions, add another layer of complexity to the equation. Animals, particularly those with complex social structures like dogs, are constantly learning, adapting their behavior based on their experiences. This capacity for learning can sometimes lead to unexpected outcomes, including interactions with other species that defy easy categorization. The case of the deer and the dog might represent a collision of instinct and learned behavior, where the dog's innate drive to mate is misdirected towards an inappropriate target due to a lack of social cues or the presence of an unusually receptive deer. The tantalizing footage of a deer and a dog engaged in what appeared to be mating behavior sparked a flurry of interest, but ultimately yielded more questions than answers. The lack of clear, verifiable data makes it difficult to draw definitive conclusions about the nature and extent of interspecies mating between these animals. Scientific inquiry thrives on evidence, on replicable observations that can be rigorously tested and analyzed. Anecdotal accounts, while intriguing, are often unreliable, prone to exaggeration, and subject to the biases of the observer. Without more robust data, it's impossible to determine whether the footage represents a genuine case of interspecies mating or a more mundane explanation. Furthermore, the rarity of such events makes systematic study challenging. Observing animal behavior in the wild is fraught with difficulties, requiring patience, expertise, and a hefty dose of luck. The chances of capturing a fleeting interspecies interaction on camera, let alone gathering enough data to draw meaningful conclusions, are slim at best. Despite the lack of conclusive evidence, the possibility of deer and dogs engaging in interspecies mating highlights the need for continued research into the complexities of animal behavior and the fluid boundaries between species. The quest to understand the natural world, while driven by curiosity and a thirst for knowledge, must be tempered by ethical considerations, particularly when dealing with living sentient beings. The potential for interspecies mating between deer and dogs raises ethical questions about our role in these interactions and the potential consequences of interfering with natural processes. Some argue that we have a moral obligation to prevent interspecies mating, particularly if it results in hybrid offspring that might suffer health problems or face challenges surviving in the wild. Others contend that we should avoid interfering with natural processes, allowing nature to run its course even if it leads to seemingly unnatural outcomes. Future research into interspecies mating between deer and dogs should prioritize non-invasive observation techniques such as camera traps and remote sensing to minimize disturbance to these animals and their habitats. Genetic analysis of deer and dog populations in areas where these interactions are reported could provide valuable insights into the frequency of hybridization and its potential consequences. Ultimately, our understanding of the natural world is an ongoing journey, one marked by discovery, wonder, and a healthy dose of humility. The natural world is in a constant state of flux. Species evolve, adapt, and interact in ways that challenge our understanding of normal. Deer and dogs engaging in interspecies mating forces us to embrace nature's fluidity. Nature rarely conforms to our expectations. Interspecies interactions are more common than we thought, redefining normal. The deer and dog remind us that the animal kingdom is dynamic and ever-evolving. The potential for interspecies mating presents complex challenges for wildlife conservationists managing animal populations. Hybridization of species facing threats from habitat loss, climate change, or disease can impact genetic integrity and survival. Conservation efforts focus on maintaining genetic diversity, crucial for adapting to changing environments and withstanding disease. Hybridization can lead to a loss of genetic diversity, especially if hybrid offspring are less fit or interbreeding is widespread. Hybrid individuals can disrupt social structures, mating behaviors, and predator-prey dynamics, upsetting ecosystem balance. The human mind often falls prey to anthropomorphism, projecting human emotions and values onto animal behaviors. The case of the deer and the dog can trigger this impulse, leading to misinterpretations. Animals experience the world differently than humans. Their behaviors are driven by instinct and environmental cues, not human emotions. Attributing human emotions to animals can lead to misunderstandings. For example, a deer and dog interaction might evoke feelings of disgust or a desire to intervene when it might be driven by complex hormonal and environmental factors. By resisting anthropomorphism, we can study the natural world with greater objectivity, understanding behaviors on their own terms rather than imposing our values. The natural world, with its boundless diversity and breathtaking beauty, will always hold mysteries. The case of the deer and the dog opens up questions about animal behavior, species boundaries, and our own perception. Rather than frustration, we should see these as opportunities for exploration. Each discovery brings us closer to nature's secrets, reminding us of how much more there is to learn. Embrace the unknown and embark on a journey of endless exploration. Our journey into the heart of an unusual encounter, a deer seemingly entwined with a dog, has taken us through dense forests of scientific inquiry across vast plains of anecdotal evidence and into the very heart of what it means to understand the natural world. We've grappled with the complexities of animal behavior, explored the intricate dance of hormones and instincts, and confronted the limitations of our own perceptions. The footage, grainy and fleeting, served as a Rorschach test, revealing as much about our own preconceived notions as it did about the animals involved. Some saw a violation of natural laws, a disturbing anomaly that challenged their understanding of the world. Others saw a testament to nature's boundless creativity, a reminder that the lines we draw between species are often more fluid than we'd like to believe. The truth, as is often the case in nature, likely lies somewhere in between. While the evidence for widespread interspecies mating between deer and dogs remains inconclusive, the very possibility of such an event forces us to confront the limits of our understanding and to embrace the humbling realization that the natural world still holds countless secrets waiting to be unraveled. As we venture out of the wilderness and back into our familiar human world, we carry with us a renewed appreciation for the natural world. The grainy footage, the whispered tales, the passionate debates among experts all serve as a powerful reminder of life's complexities. The call of the wild is a universal invitation to embrace a lifelong journey of discovery. Never stop questioning, observing, and marveling at the intricate tapestry of life. So the next time you find yourself in nature's embrace, whether it's a walk in a local park or a hike through a forest, take a moment to truly observe the creatures around you. Listen to the symphony of birdsong, watch the intricate dance of insects, and remember that each organism plays a vital role in the grand orchestra of life. The greatest adventure is the pursuit of understanding itself.